Okay, those are opportunities. Tools, email, email, email. I think you've gotten it today. Do not, please do not let this one go by. If I like your music and you can't email me, it's not my fault. Okay, it's not my fault. I'm doing my best. I may have been hammered at your show. I won't remember your name. I spent all my money trying to drink myself into someone's pants, and so I couldn't buy something right there and then. Let me get back to you. I've done this. You know, I toured for years. I've seen it all. Sinful thing. The emerging one, and I say emerging because the tool set I don't think has quite been developed, is SMS. Now, this is big in the EDM space and in hip hop community, and they've really mastered and they've really pushed it to a new level. Ryan Leslie has an app called Superphone. I'm an advisor to the company, so full disclosure, but they're in beta right now, and I've seen some of the tool set that they're building, and I think it's remarkable. I think it's absolutely remarkable. But the first thing he does, and Chandler does when you sign up for his newsletter, the call report, because I just did it on my phone to confirm it, is the first thing you have to do if you want more is to put your email address in. So basically it's text me at this number, sends you a thing saying, great, reply with your email address and I'll add you. And he said to me, or actually Nathan, his developer, said to me that 90% of people put in their email address and their zip code. So this is genius. And then within these platforms, so watch for the ability to create text message numbers that fans can text you on, because there's going to be pay via SMS shortly. There's a whole bunch of tools that's being built. So I would start thinking about how you want to claim your SMS presence. This is the language that people are going to speak. It's the medium I think that a lot of people are going to use, and the tools are just beginning right now. So I'm excited about that. Social networks, retargeting. Social networks. Does anyone here own Facebook stock? A little bit. Okay, great. Okay. Let's be clear here. The more you pump into Facebook, the more they own. Okay? Unless you own stock, in which case you're doing good. So do not mistake the power of email as being important here. But also Facebook is vital, Twitter is vital, YouTube's absolutely essential. We'll get into that as well. But I want you to think about social networks and retargeting into those social networks using your email list. This is a phenomenal tool. I'm always nervous of telling artists to go down a rabbit hole when you'd probably get more out of your creative and musical life by hiring someone who knows how to do it for you, because you should be worrying about recording and getting the art right, and someone else can handle that. Interns, friends, pals, whatever it is. But it gets really complex. It's fucking amazing though, what you can achieve if you really fine-tune these tools. So hopefully you'll build your email list into which you can grow out to get enough people to help you with it. Or become the master of it yourself. Ryan Leslie, the guy that invented the Superphone app, and he, coded it himself, created it, and he literally is on his phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're that way inclined, genius, love it. Streaming as social network. I don't view streaming platforms as a means of making money for most musicians. I've written it off. I'm exhausted by the arguments over them not paying enough. They do a lousy job of defending their own business models. They're social networks. Use them to disseminate playlists. Use them to share music that inspires you with your fans. So don't just put your own music out there. Say, I made my top 10 Marvin Gaye mix on Spotify. Listen to it here. I love you. Listen to it before breakfast and you have a great day. Or you say, these are my favorite snare sounds in songs from the 70s. I'm going to try and get that on my next album. Bitch by the Rolling Stones is the best. So just so so use the playlisting and social functionalities of these massive platforms to your advantage, because they're very social, right? It's not just about saying, listen to my music on Spotify, give it context. If you're making an album of doo-wop, for example, say, here are 10 doo-wop tracks that inspire me, So use them in that way. If you try to worry about squeezing more pennies out of them, I just think you're into a losing game at the moment. They need to scale, they need size. They pay out 80% of the money they make to content to the rights holders, and rights holders lose it from there. So it's not a beat-up Spotify party. It's a pointless argument. Use it for what it is. It's a tool. And I'd say the same thing with YouTube. YouTube Red just announced, let's see what it comes out to. But again, these are mass platforms owned by other people. So you need to remember These are consumer platforms. The beauty of direct-to-fan is you also going to have super fans will consume directly from you if you allow them, and then they will go experience everything else. It's not either or, it's an as well as. The problem is the music industry focuses solely on the consumer experience at the cost of the super fan. If you're a Beyonce fan, about the most you could spend on her was $13.99 when she dropped her last album on iTunes. I know because one of our team, and Nicole in our office in New York, is an obsessive super fan. She spent like $75 on a signed K-Flay album because she could. And when her hero, she said, I believe Beyonce, you know, when her hero released a record, $13.99. And I said, why? She said, that's all there was. It's not her fault. The music industry can cry, oh, there's no money in it, but it's not her fault if she can't spend, right? I mean, you gotta ask yourself that. If there's a song that your fans love and they can't buy a handwritten lyric sheet, is that their fault? No, it's yours. These are things that you create. If you've got a way of doing production, mixing, mastering, etc., and you can share that knowledge, that's, again, it's valuable. And I'll get into a little more of that. Anyway, growth hacking, product market fit. There's a great book called Growth Hacker Marketing. I forget the name of the guy that wrote it, but it's really good. Don't go too far down this rabbit hole again, because a lot of musicians like me are a bit OCD. So I'm just like, I must know everything about this. But it speaks to that Candy Crush notion, and it speaks to the idea of, if you go down one social network, like let's say you go, well, Snapchat's the happening one, I gotta go on that, or Line. And you try it, don't try it for 6 months. Try it, get down and dirty with it. If it doesn't work, move on to the next one. That's how hackers think. It's called product market fit. If your product is not fitting the market, if your fans just are not on Snapchat, don't go find them there. Let them find you. Let them start to create stuff and share it with you, and then you go to game. I'm not saying don't have the account, but like, don't, you know, I've seen people who will spend, yeah, the last year I'm just not getting anything on my Twitter account. Okay, are your fans on Twitter? I don't know. Have you asked them? It's not their fault. If they're all on Facebook, go find them there. Get them on your email list, you know, so etc. Content, I'm gonna get back to, I'm still not ready yet. Stories, again, stories and blockchain. These are tools and these are opportunities. And a lot of them are gonna cross-pollinate, and arguably they could all be in the same list. But you need to think one fan at a time. You need to think one fan at a time. If you try and think of the mass of fans and just raw, pure exposure, you're not delighting the weird. You're just trying to, it's going to be a vanilla kind of, just get it to everybody. And that's, guess what it feels like? Oh, this is for everybody. Good for me, you know. Taylor Swift, by the way, is the master of this. She's incredible at it. She's absolutely amazing. So watch Taylor Swift. Again, ask your fans. So many times we get, I don't know what people are going to want from me. Okay, let's see. What could I possibly do with this massive Facebook following of mine? Maybe say, I was thinking of making vinyl. Anyone want it? Don't say, I've just made 2,000 vinyl. Anyone want it? See what I mean? It sounds odd when you say it that way, but this is what we do. Record labels will make 5 million copies of a record and then try to say, oh, well, we only sold 2 million. Idiot. You know, and look, it's a legacy process, right? But you know, we cost out vinyl all the time, and the first thing we say is there's a 5-month delay in making vinyl anyway because of record store day, and I mean it's to the point at which there are no new vinyl machines, vinyl pressing machines, so they have a 40% downtime. They cannot make enough vinyl quick enough. It's not possible. So what you got to ask yourself is, when Urban Outfitters, using its 80-20 rule, puts vinyl in its front window and record players, are they idiots? Are they doing it because it doesn't sell? No, this is something people want, right? So as an artist, see if you have a vinyl following. Test that market the way that Will Daly did, you know. And I know he has a vinyl pressing because I bought it. I got Will Daly's vinyl. Again, he allowed me to, so I did. He allowed me to buy a signed copy, and I did. So I don't mean to like simplify it, because I know it's not an easy process, but what I mean is, if you get into the thought that I'm going to figure out what these fans want, and if I'm comfortable with it, and if it meets my artistic vision, I'll offer it to them. If it's not, and you want to be mysterious, and you don't want to give it all away, that's fine. That's fine. You know, if you ask certain fans what they want, they'll say, I'd like a vial of your blood, some of your semen, and a hair sample, please. Okay, so know that, right? And by the way, vials of blood have been offered on our platform. hair has been offered on our platform, and we would not allow semen, or a threesome with Mick Jagger. So I apologize. Okay. This is another Nick Bilton quote. Nick Bilton's kind of my hero, so you should read the book I Live in the Future and Here's How It Works. But I want to, again, dwell on this. I'm among the new era of consumers and contributors, and we're looking for new forms of content and storytelling. Where it doesn't exist, we're going to find it elsewhere, make it ourselves, or in some instances, just take it. Now, the key words in this quote for me are, I'm among the new era of consumers and contributors. He doesn't consider himself just a consumer. He considers himself a contributor. He considers his act, and I believe that this is true for superfans, they consider themselves contributors to your story. These are the ones that participate in the making of a watch before it exists. So when you think of the consumer base and the superfan base, understand that a lot of these superfans consider themselves co-creators, and you can be uncomfortable with that. That's fine. But it's not going to change. Nick Bilton also talked about in the book, he said they're not coming back. The customers of yesterday are not going to return. No one's going to wish that their phone, instead of, being able to carry in a pocket with a map on it, it's going to go back to just numbers and being plugged into a wall. It's an absurdity. No one's going to sit there and say, I wish I could buy all my albums on Friday and not any other day. It just won't happen. And so when you're looking at what this looks like, understand that consumers are also contributors in a certain way. Their social sway, when you share something with them, if they're going to share it, it matters. They've got to share the good stuff. They consider themselves contributors. Look at the playlists on Spotify. There are people who literally just curate and have made a name for themselves. Look at DJs in EDM. They are curated. They're at the cutting edge. So how many influencers are there in your network? And it doesn't have to be EDM. It can be old crumbly folk. It can be blues. It doesn't matter. If it's just greatness, right? It's greatness. So I work with a lot of startup companies, and there's a lot of this talk of the artist as a startup. And startups are terrifying, amazing, exciting, vulnerable, terrifying. They are weird. Not quite as diva as most artists, but I've been one, so I've been both. So I was more of a diva as an artist than I was as a startup CEO, I think. But one of the things across the board is you have to ask yourself, what does success mean to you? And it's really important that you know that going in. If success is being Adele, that's difficult to do. Taylor Swift, difficult to do. And you're also going to have to forge quite a different path. When Kickstarter got huge, and our company was a little bit smaller, we had to define success differently. I didn't want to create a multi-vertical platform that did films and books and, documentaries about pickles and polar bear, attire, whatever it was. I wanted to do Gang of Four's Blood, So, and so I had to define success differently. But what that also meant was I had to ask myself, what did failure look like? And an artist has to ask themselves this too. And the reason that I say that that's an important question is because commercial success and artistic success are different. And an artistic success for you is 1,000 times more valid than the commercial success will ever be. And the reason I know this is because I know a whole bunch of famous people who were miserable, drank themselves or drugged themselves to death, and with immense artistic integrity, they did it. It's tragic, but it's true. And so there's what does success, what does failure mean to you is a question you should ask yourself as an artist, as a person, as a human, right? Because as you're going to go barrel down, I'm going to hire someone, I'm going to do nothing but Facebook advertising, whatever it is, what do you want to get out of it? What's the end result? Set a bar at which you failed, and it's okay. Still make great music. Don't ever stop doing that. And that's not the point. The point is to understand that. You got to ask yourself how quickly you're prepared to fail. This is what growth hackers do. This is what video games do. If they create a new level, they test it. If it doesn't work, they don't sit and remix it for 10 years. They stop and move ahead, go on. Now, I'm not saying you can't iterate on your musical style, what you learn, what you know, your music. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is just understand when you're marketing that if a channel isn't working, if some path isn't working, don't just do it because everyone else is doing it. I think you need to ask yourself, is anyone other than me waiting for my next release? So, it's a brutal question. It's fucking horrible. So, one of the ways I used to ask myself is, I used to have a 3,000 person email list, and I would say, are 300 people waiting for this next release? Now the beautiful part is, in today's nomenclature I could ask them. Back then I couldn't. I'd have to send them postcards because I'm 100 years old. So if there are people waiting for your next release, it's because you've primed them for it. If there aren't, it's because they simply don't know. And a whole bunch of people started to learn that Adele was maybe going to drop something, a 30-second clip here. They were waiting. And I reckon, she's already sold more records than any artist this century, right? With her last album. So she's probably going to do about the same again. And it's probably going to sell on a Friday in a store, and it's going to do it. I mean, it's going to be remarkable, right? So whether you love it or not doesn't matter. It's going to sell, right? Taylor Swift was we just knew it, right? People were waiting. But that's because those artists and those labels and marketing have created something to wait for, something to drive urgency. And I think that's really, really important. Content versus music. When you think about content, I think content should be the wrapper around, the promotional wrapper around the music itself. I despise the word content as it relates to, we just need some more content from you. Fuck off. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, right? But that's what happens. But I think the penny drop miss that I had was that, no, they're asking for something to give the music context. Content can give the art that you create context. Allow that to happen. I love that. And this really does mean a lot to me right now, and it's extraordinarily unpopular with a lot of people, but I don't care because it's important, right? To lead or to follow. Music is no longer rebellious, and it's really depressing. I watch people trying to get a brand, trying to associate themselves with a product they would never use, trying to create content. Every venue has got to have a beer company or an airline's name on it. And what that, 15, thank you. And what that says to me is it's a layer in the way of me and the artist. Because I don't drink anymore. So if Bushmills is sponsoring you, it's irrelevant to me. And again, what is Bushmills' job to do? Sell whiskey. What is Budweiser's job to do? Sell beer. What is a t-shirt company to sell t-shirts? So I believe, and I'm aspirational and hopeful, that that musicians and artists are going to take back their independence from not just the labels, but from brands themselves. Because if you view your job as getting to a brand and your music's got to fit their demographic, you're going to go into that wedge, and their wedge is not niche, it is wide. So this is a choice that a lot of artists have to make. If you want to go be super famous and go the whole route, you're gonna brand, and I wouldn't fault you for it. But to me personally, I think that there's a new crop of artists who are going to use these tools to define independence from that. They're going to rebel. They're going to push. They're going to make it punk rock. They're going to break things. I watch thousands of artists on our platform march towards the exact same thing, and they let other people tell their story. You have to tell the story. Your art tells the story. You have to be authentic, driven, motivated. And I think you're competing with free, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. And the reason is that if you get all of the principles of marketing wrong, if you fucked everything up from SEO, you name it, it doesn't matter. Because if what you make is great, so all these principles I've laid out, you can get everything wrong if what you make is great. And I believe it's fundamentally because people are unable to keep greatness to themselves. And when Adele drops something, they cannot help but share it. They cannot help but imitate, steal, create it. Gautier's song, it was a great song. Everyone had to cover it. These things have their own momentum. So whatever you get wrong is erased instantly by greatness. And that's a wonderful thing for everyone because that's the level playing field, right? So if you do great work and it tells a great story, then everyone else who hears it will have something that they want to share. Thank you.